Hey, Scott from Aristocob.com here.
And Seth from SethMarkwood.com.
Together, the three of us, we are Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. Welcome back once again, and good morning, boy.
Good morning, Homer.
What are you doing?
I'm switching it up. LL7 was fine, but I'm wanting some, what is this? I think this is vanilla caramel waffle cone e-juice.
Well, I've moved on too. I'm smoking Sutliff 1M Vanilla.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a shame that you've moved on.
Is it? I'm feeling pretty good about it, actually.
All right.
It's a hot day. It's a hot day, and we've filmed a lot of these, and also have not filmed one of these. So I'm all right. We've been smoking for a while.
So what are we going to talk about?
Let's start with, because we never got to it. Let's start with one of the reasons why we have had to batch film so many. And we talk about it. We mentioned it very briefly.
Yeah.
And let's talk about it just briefly here too. This fall, expect more batch video recordings. You know, that's usually the case. Usually we do 2 or 3. It may be even more. I think in this session we're looking at about 5 videos. So a whole month plus of time between when we're able to film, and that's because we're each independently going to be out of town for most of that time.
Yeah, between now and the time you watch this, we're gone.
That's right.
Where are you going to be?
So I'm going to be going to Germany for a couple of days.
First time?
For work. First time to Germany. Cool. This was an unexpected trip. And so it's kind of just last minute, an opportunity came up. I'll be going to Germany, and then from Germany over to London for a couple of days before coming home. It'll be a short, less than a week round trip for work. And then a week after that, we'll be going to Kentucky on a mission trip with my son, Ender. And so that'll be a lot of fun. In the meantime, you're going to be...
Where am I going to be? I'm going to be in Pennsylvania for a week. I will be in Toronto for a week. I'll be in Los Angeles for a week. Oh. When I say a week, it'll be 5 to 6 days each trip. And then as soon as I get back from that, the day after, I think, we leave for Kentucky together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be a crazy week. Spend a lot of time away. Here's the thing about our travel and about my travel. I can speak for me. I love my job. My job gives me a lot of satisfaction. I enjoy using my knowledge and my skills to help other people succeed in their jobs. So when I'm working, I'm really enjoying it. It's very much almost a hobby of mine, and it's such a pleasure to get paid to do my hobby.
Yeah.
But then I end up at night sitting alone in a Hampton Inn, and that's when I wish I were home for sure. And so it is tough, and people ask about that, and you know, there's a trade-off between that and you know, the home life that I love as well, and the family that I love, and this is even these moments where we're hanging out together. I miss them. I will be sitting in my hotel room at some point watching this very video, because by the time this comes out, I will have forgotten half of what we talked about, and I enjoy these conversations.
Yeah, I'm the same. You know, the only part about travel I don't like is not being at home. Thankfully, I really don't mind. I don't mind the travel, getting to and from places. I mean, the trip to Germany is going to be a long trip. It's a 9-hour flight from, I think, probably Atlanta or New York, and so there's half a day spent getting to there, and then flying overnight. That part's less fun, but really, I'm a nerd. It's a time that I catch up on TV shows and movies and things that I haven't had time to watch day to day. And then what I'm doing, I really, really enjoy. Every single trip I take, I enjoy the travel part. I enjoy what's happening on site. It's just a bummer not being with my wife and kids. But I've probably said it here before. At my last job, I was on call, and so I didn't travel at all. I was here. But because I was on call all the time, I was always on call, and so it meant that dinner plans might be ruined. It meant that a birthday plan might fall through because I have to work. Or it means that my phone might ring on Christmas Eve and we've got people over to play games and I'm having to juggle and get a situation taken care of. I don't have that in this job, and I will gladly take much more travel because I know that from this day to this day I'm gone, and then when I'm home I get to be home. I will take that over being home and maybe not being home in anybody's guess. Any day.
So,
but going into, not just for now, our July and August is busy, but I think for both of us, at least for me, August, September, October, and even November are pretty busy. And then February and March and April will be busy. And so this may be...
It's our life.
And
it also goes to something that I said weeks ago, that it's frustrating a bit to be a part of the YTPC, but to be separated from the YTPC as it comes to events and things. Things happen. We lose members of the YTPC. Some interesting topic comes up, and we together cannot participate in that conversation in the way that we would like to. Yeah. It's a little frustrating. So, but we appreciate you guys spending time with us. So it's been a little over a month since I had my knee replaced, and I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for asking. Actually, been 2 months since when you watch this. On the first day back, first trip to the restroom in the hallway, and we have three baths in our house. The hospital provided me with one of those fancy schmancy, I don't know if they're considered a portable toilet. I guess they are. They look kind of like a walker, but they've got a seat, and then beneath that you can have a little thing. What do you call those? Like a chamber pot. Mm-hmm. But then this thing can also be used over a toilet to give you some handrails and things. So my very first trip to the restroom, Jandy...
So what's the purpose? Why did they give that to you?
Well, because my knee was not strong enough to be able to safely lower me without having some handrails.
Does it raise the seat as well?
It does. It raises the seat up, so you're encountering the seat sooner.
Right.
And then it also gives you some handrails to lower down. So I go into the restroom for the first time, and the first thing I realized, it's a hallway bathroom, it's a half bath. I realized, there's not room for me and the walker that I'm walking with. So I'm going to leave the walker out in the hallway. And I'm stepping in and I'm holding onto the wall. And Jandy had put this thing in place over the toilet. And I sit down on it and realize this is not going to work for me. I'm a big man, and the hole in this thing is like this big. And so you have a decision to make when you're a big man. What exactly are you going to be lining up with this hole? And then I sat and realized
missiles or bombs.
This is not going to work. And so I stand up and I take that thing and I toss it out of the hallway with the walker. And I turn to sit down, and I start to lower myself down to a position that I thought the toilet was, and it wasn't there. And my right leg is at that point giving out on me, and as it gives out, it spins me, and I reach out to grab something, and I hit the tank of the toilet. And I did exactly what I knew would happen if I did that. All of a sudden, I hear water pouring out all over the wooden floor.
Oh, man.
And so I'm now having to lean over, kneel down, turn off the valve, which by the way, that valve hadn't been turned in 20 years. So now I'm having to leave the bathroom, go down the hallway, go down the stairs. This is now the first time I've gone downstairs since the hospital. I'm alone in the house.
Turn the water main off.
Go out to the garage to get a wrench that I can then use to turn off the valve in the bathroom. So now I'm going back up the stairs. I get the valve off. All that time there's water pouring down on the wood floor.
If that happens again, because I know that the house, yes. If that happens again, you walked past the main water shutoff for the house to get the wrench before going back up. The main water shutoff is going to be by the water heater, which is right there at the bottom of the steps.
In the garage, okay.
Yeah. So we'll look for that. Make sure you find it before you do the other leg in the event that happens again.
So I make it back up the stairs. I go in. I get the valve turned off. finally get to use the toilet. And at that point, drained everything to stop the water from pouring, and made that toilet unavailable for use by the family. Now, keep this in mind, I have 4 grandkids that live with us. That is their go-to bathroom, including a 3-year-old that's trying to learn to use the potty. So this has been a real problem, not being able to use that bathroom for now a month. And so last week I went to Lowe's to buy a toilet, and I found the one I wanted to get, and I couldn't budge it. I couldn't lift it into the shopping cart. Now, I could have gotten one of the flatbeds, but I realized at that point, if I can't lift it here, I can't lift it into the car. So I'm going to have to call this guy. And so I called Seth and said, hey, when will you be available for 2 hours? And he said, we can get it done this weekend. And so the bathroom's been unavailable for a while now. And this morning, called Seth. And Jandy and I went, we got the toilet, and this time went through the lumber yard, got the flatbed cart, rolled it over. There was one on the floor, so I was able to tilt the box back, slide the cart underneath it, use a little engineering to get it in place. Boy arrives just as we're hitting the van and helps to load it into the van. And then we had to remove the old toilet. If you've never removed the toilet or replaced the toilet, it really isn't a hard job. You just need to do it, and I'm sure there's YouTube videos on the subject. But you also need to be meticulous, because you're going to remove the old wax ring that is where you're going to get the seal between the bowl and the pipe below. And then there's several places where ultimately you'll end up having leaks if you're not careful. And so
the biggest challenge, regardless of the space that you have, but especially if you're in a half bath with a limited, the bathroom here has like a toilet alcove.
Yeah.
A lot of houses have that, where you've got a wall. It's somebody my size, even with 150 pounds less of me, it's still very tight. And so trying to use that space to get underneath or behind with a wrench and get everything loose or tight is the most challenging thing. It's not the removal of the toilet. It's not anything else having to do with that. It's just getting access to everything that needs to be tight so it doesn't leak.
So the components, and by the way, my thought was maybe I didn't break it initially. Maybe what I did was I broke the seal that's between the tank and the back. And if you're not, again, familiar with toilets, the tank behind you is holding fresh water. You could drink it if you had to. And then from that tank, when you flush, it flows through an opening that is sealed between the tank and the bowl. And the tank is held to the bowl with 2 bolts. And I thought maybe there was a chance when I hit it that what I did was I basically broke the seal that had been there for 20 years. And so before I decided to replace it, I went ahead and took everything out and took the tank off, inspected it, and sure enough, I found a hairline crack. I had cracked it, and that was going to be enough then in the long run to where I'm not going to try to seal it. Let's just replace the toilet. And I got one that's, while it's a lower flow, it actually has the option of 2 different flush levels, so you can not waste as much water. With as many people as we have here at this home, we have got a septic tank and a leach bed in the backyard. So we do want to minimize the amount of water that we're using in each flush, and so that gives us a liquid waste flush and a solid waste flush. And thank you very much for helping to get that installed.
Well,
so here's what prompted the balance of this conversation. As I'm standing in line to purchase this toilet and confirming that I have everything I need, because with some toilets, in addition to the toilet, you got to buy the wax ring that's going to then transition from the bowl to the pipe below. You may have to buy, and you will have to buy, a replacement water line that goes from the valve into the valve that's inside of the tank. I'm reading over the box and I'm saying, wow, everything but the water line is included with this. I wasn't expecting that. I thought I was going to have to buy a wax ring. And then I get to something on the box I didn't expect. Made in China. And my first instinct is, we're putting this back and we're getting another toilet. So I look at the next price up, which is $50 more than I was planning on spending. made in China. I looked the next price up, which is another 50 above that. Not made in China, but well beyond what I wanted to pay for a toilet that I personally will not be using. It's again kind of the guest toilet.
Right.
So I decided I'm going to go ahead and buy this Chinese toilet. And there's this part of me, and you know it, that is bothered by buying foreign goods when an American product is available, and the Americans engineered this toilet. It's their idea, and so on.
Chances are the Chinese toilet is an American engineered toilet.
Well, it's at least a clone. It's a
right?
clone of an American engineered toilet. And like so many Chinese products like this that are made up of multiple components, it blows me away how good these companies are at making sure that they include everything. So there were 2 moments where we thought that maybe the thing we were looking for wasn't here. Oh, they didn't include that plastic washer. We got to have that washer. There's a metal washer, but there's got to be a plastic washer. Oh, here it is. Here's that washer. Every single part we needed was there. The quality of the porcelain
Looks good.
looks really good. The wax ring was not only included, but it was a wax ring with a flange, which is the more expensive version of the wax ring and the more modern version of a wax ring. And everything about that is really impressive.
The only weird thing is the position of the hole.
The waste hole.
That's right. It's very far back, which probably makes it easier from a molding perspective, and there may be a reason for that with the lower flow to help facilitate flow, because it shortens the distance and probably shortens the height of that trap there, of the water that you have to overcome. It probably is a design reason for it. It's just unusual. I think it will probably result in toilet paper getting built up on the front part.
It's probably why, and you'll see this in Germany, every bathroom you go into, they're built, their toilets are also built differently. Every bathroom has a brush. They're just mounted on the wall, little holder, and there's a brush right there, because they don't flush cleanly. And part of that is just the design of it. And they also have the 2 flushes there as well.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have to buy a toilet brush if we don't already have one.
There's one in there.
Is
I
there?
was
it was in the way. That's right.
Knocking into it while bolting it down.
Again, I don't use that bathroom, so.
So we are currently on a budgetary lockdown in my household. But as soon as that is lifted, I've had my eye on a couple of Wish.com products. If you're unfamiliar with Wish.com, it is like AliExpress. It is a Chinese retail website where you can buy anything and everything. But they really have a very strong social media presence. There are YouTube videos of people buying things from them. There are all sorts of stuff. And so they've done a really great job with branding. AliExpress and Alibaba, that's where people that's where people shop to buy cheap things. Wish.com is where people who want to find trendy things shop to get cheap things. But my cousin came over recently, and he had a couple of things that he's purchased from there, a couple of knives in particular. One of them is a $50 Chinese version of a $350 name brand knife. I legitimately couldn't tell the difference looking at it. I couldn't tell that it was a low quality.
Had you seen the original?
I have not seen the original in person, but I'm familiar with the brand. And being familiar with the brand and the high quality that brand puts out, I was shocked at how high quality this knife was. So shocked that I thought maybe for $50 it was it's like a aftermarket or that somehow it is in part a legitimate version of the knife. Now, doing some research about it after the fact, that's not the case. It is a knockoff. It's a well-known knockoff. And there you can find YouTube videos of people comparing the real thing to the knockoff, and man, it is close. It is close, and it definitely falls into that area that we've talked before about
intellectual property rights.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, there's that. It is it's branded. It's illegal.
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah, it's branded.
Oh.
The branding's not the same. It is a imitation. It is a
Right. It's like a fake Rolex that says
right.
Rolex on it.
Right. That's, there are branding things. So one of the videos I saw had how to tell if you're looking on eBay and someone's selling it for $100, $150, how to tell if it's a real deal or a knockoff. That was a good video, informative video. But he was also comparing the two. And, I'm sure that the steel that they use is not the same high quality. And like with many things from China, it doesn't matter what the specs say it is. It probably isn't. It's probably a cheaper version of that. But I gotta say, looking at some of the reviews and the comparisons for it, it's something that falls well within that spec of, is it worth what, 6 times? 7 times? No. I can't do math. I can't math. No, yeah, 7. Is it worth 7 times the cost to get the...
Well, it's the difference
real
between
one.
will you have one or won't you have one,
Right.
right? So, yeah, again, I don't want to rehash this
No,
entirely.
we've had it, but
But we've talked about that where I have a couple lines that I draw. Is this a product that's now in public domain, that the company had its patent protection, they enjoyed that, they enjoyed their brand building and popularity, and now it's time for other people to get into it
Right.
and to add their own touch or their own take on it? I'm okay with that. I absolutely am okay, and in some cases I prefer the name brand because they have all those years of experience.
Yeah.
They know the metallurgy that went into it. They know everything about the production. I have a much bigger problem when somebody's knocking something off during that period of protection. However, there are a lot of companies that make the decision that, you know what, we don't think we're going to make enough money to justify the patent process, so we're just going to make hay while we can and hope to get as much of this market as we can before someone knocks off the Snuggie.
Yeah.
And so there again, do you research everything you buy to make sure you're not stepping on somebody's? Usually when something gets knocked off, you find out pretty quick online that, hey, this is an American company, it's family owned, and they've got patents, and in those cases I do support, or I usually do without.
Right. Yeah.
But this toilet, it's made in China. Is it a copy of someone else's toilet? There was none others like it. It's being sold by Lowe's, and when I was there a couple nights ago, they had 10 of them. Today they had 1 of them. That shelf was empty.
Wow.
So clearly it's a popular product.
Yeah.
And not that a toilet is a toilet is a toilet. I know enough about plumbing to know that that's not true. But for the least used toilet in our house,
Right.
I felt comfortable buying it. And again, as we went through and installed it,
It's pretty good.
I was
pretty good.
pretty pleased by it.
Time will tell.
Yeah. And we know how to change a toilet.
That's right.
And there's the advantage of the low price. That goes out the window when you're replacing it. But anyway, that was a surprise. I didn't realize that they were into porcelain fixtures. They're into everything.
I was going to say, if you can build it. Well, and
it's not new technology.
Is the company Chinese?
I don't know. I didn't research that.
I mean,
Probably not.
That's a big question. Is
probably a private label or a brand.
Right.
Kohler or somebody
Right.
owns a factory, and
that's the big question. Is it actually is it a Chinese company? Is it a Chinese product, or is it just an American product being manufactured in China?
our toilets are different than they use in other parts of the world. It's being made for us. So it's not that somebody went to China, found that toilet and said, hey, can you brand it for us?
Right.
Somebody took a design and made it.
Right.
And maybe it is a knockoff of somebody. It did, like I said, it doesn't look or function like any of the other toilets that were there. I mean, not function, yes,
looks,
but you know.
Yeah. I don't know.
This is, I think, it's the first toilet conversation we've had on this channel.
Yep.
You get past 250 episodes and things go downhill. Had a lot of plumbing conversations, though. More than I ever would have imagined when we started this.
Yeah. Yep. But we, it happens when you're one of the two of you works for a plumbing company and
And the other one is a
Plumbing
fat guy
adjacent.
that breaks toilets.
plumbing adjacent company. I am happy I haven't broken a toilet in a while. Oh, my goodness. I've been there once. It's not fun. It's not a fun place to be.
Again, if that ever happens to you and it's never happened to you, you don't need to panic. Reach down and turn the valve and stop the flow of water. A lot of people do freak out when the water's flowing and they don't know what to do. Just
Same
turn
thing
the
to do
valve.
if you are overflowing. If notice that the toilet is overflowing, what can happen sometimes is the flapper inside of the tank, which is being filled with fresh water, if it gets caught, it will continue to fill up, and if there's a clog, then it will pour out and will continue to pour out. Same thing, you just turn that water off. Now, the water, it's in the tank, will continue to flow unless you open the tank lid and close the flapper. But our audience is mostly men who smoke pipes. You guys know this. We're not telling you things you don't know. I apologize.
But these are things that I think about sharing with the grandkids. And my wife knows all this, but if my wife didn't know this, I think this is the sort of thing I'd want to be sure that everyone in the house is aware of. That, look, I've taken the lid off and shown my grandkids how toilets work. Just
one of the most important things that members of your house should know. This is one of the things that my plumbers would always make it a point to show homeowners, because most don't know where it is. That is, where is the main shutoff in your house? Because it will shut all of the water to your house.
I know where the main
off.
is in your house.
I do too. I do too. So that's something we're going to leave here and go find the main in this house in the event this happens again.
I was wanting to do some more stairs today, so this is part of my PT.
Well, I have to do the stairs to get out, so to go home.
All right, hey, thanks for sticking with us. So tell me, have you replaced a toilet? I'll leave it at that. I'm not even going to ask you if you've broken a toilet, but if you want to volunteer that information, go right ahead.
Have you replaced a toilet, broken a toilet, and if given the option, would you install a Chinese toilet?
Good question.
There we go.
All right, thanks for joining us. Make it a great week.
Thank you, guys. See you next week.